Few people had the prophetic understanding that one day there would be something called the internet, that communication from one side of the world would come in the blink of an eye. But those few people that had the foresight, those people capitalized on it. Today we have the opportunity to talk to Howard Morgan, who foresaw the internet, email, and eventually used that incredible foresight to build mega companies like LinkedIn and Uber. This week on Jewish Grit. Welcome to Jewish Grit. Today we have the distinct pleasure of welcoming Howard Morgan to the Jewish Grit podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. So Howard, it's hard to know where to start with you. We could talk about venture capital, and we could talk about technology, and we could talk about the countless boards that you sit on direct. We could talk about the different organizations that you assist. But I think maybe it would be a good idea for us to hear from you, if you had to talk about your life in 60 seconds, can you cram it into 60 seconds?
The way I try to cram my life into 60
You see, your wife came in right away.
She came in right away, and that's for good reason.
Okay.
Kenny and her were married 58 years.
Wow.
And I'm in the process of writing my memoir, and it's called Pick Great Partners. And my life in 60 seconds is a series of really great partners that have helped me grow, have helped me be successful, make money, make an impact on the world. And it's all about finding people you're compatible with and being able to help them and have them help you.
It's amazing. Just want to drill down a little bit more. So you have a PhD, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
You were a professor in college. What made you kind of choose where you're at today over the many different possibilities that were in front of you?
Well, I was a professor for 14 years at Cornell and at Caltech and at the University of Pennsylvania and Harvard Business School.
What did you teach?
I taught computer science when people didn't know what computers were, and operations research, which people still don't know what it is, but it's mathematical decision making, and management. And I was really focused on what we called in the 70s the Office of the Future. But what happened was one of the great partners that I ended up picking, or picked me, was Jim Simons. And Jim Simons was also a professor, decided we could start doing quantitative trading in venture capital. And he said, take a 2-year leave of absence. So I left Penn for a 2-year leave of absence in '82, and I never went back.
You were literally, they say, one of the first people that realized the power of the internet. Bring us into that part of your life. Where were you? What were you doing? And how did you realize that?
I was at Cornell, and I took a leave of absence to Caltech. And Caltech was thinking about computer science. They decided to delay computer science. So I went to the University of Pennsylvania, where my research was on advanced user interface technology. How should users interact with computers? So back in of course, the early 70s, you interacted with punch cards, and there were terminals. And one of the things that drove me nuts was error messages. You would get on your printout, which would say fatal error. And I would say, fatal to whom? I'm still
What
here.
What are you killing?
Who are you killing? I'm still here. And so we built a bunch of things to do error correction and to try to make it easier for students to get their things working. And then the internet had started with 5 schools, 5 universities. Penn had been asked to join and decided not to in 1969. When I got there in '72, I was determined to have us join. So I got machine number 50 on the internet, let's say the internet. There were 2,500 people or so on the internet. We all knew each other. We all got the first spam that was ever sent back in 1973.
Now, did you realize at that point the global opportunity to connect the world, or that was not even in your worldview?
What was in my worldview then was that the world was going to use these technologies, which included email. So I was been on email for 54 years. So my PhD thesis, was written on punch cards. I wrote a text editor to do it, printed on the computer. And when we turned it in to the Cornell thesis office, they rejected it. They said, well, you got to retype it. This is computer printed, and it's got justified right and left side. We've never seen that, and we think you got to get it retyped. And my advisor and I went to them and said, we're not going to retype this. You're crazy. Every time we find a mistake, we correct the card, and the mistake's gone forever. If we retype it, we're going to have thousands of mistakes come in. No. It took us about 2 months to convince them that the future was going to be electronically submitted PhD theses. So mine was the first one at Cornell, and we made that happen. So I realized that word processing, email, all those things were going to change the world, and I went through the 70s lecturing around the world to governments, to large companies, to tell them what the office of the future was going to look like. And my research was also on windowing systems, so Microsoft Windows was 20 years later, but we doing Windows for the Navy and the Army and so on, and put a system on one of the carriers to help in decision making. So I knew that was all going to happen, and I was a prophet about that. And it all happened. And I kind of foresaw, I would say, when you read some of my early papers, everything that was going to happen up to the iPhone. And that's what I missed.
Did you have the cellular phone in there or not yet?
We had cellular phones. We knew that you would get all this stuff on mobile, so you'd be able to get it when you were mobile. And I had a Palm Pilot, and I had a Trio, and all those things. But it was all text based. It wasn't graphics based. It wasn't the kind of things you had to do at a computer. And the iPhone just completely changed that and got it into the hands of consumers. And that was a huge delta. I mean, the PC industry, which we benefited from, got it into the hands of some computers, but some people, but not everyone was using PCs.
Sure.
Right? I mean, you had tens of millions using PCs, but not billions.
And then the laptop, the portable computer was a huge.
Well, portable was important, and we had the first laptops and grids. I used to lug around. They called them luggables for a while, the compact computer luggable. And then we had the grid, which was sort of the first thing that you would recognize as a modern laptop, made out of metal and meant for the military, in fact, originally. So that all was happening, but it was still not for the masses. It was for business use. Yes, there was some personal stuff. There was gaming that you could do. But, as I say, tens of millions of people, maybe to 100 million, but not billions.
At what point did you start monetizing?
So in 1977, 78, while I was spending the summer at the Rand Corporation in California, one of the other people there who I knew said he wanted to start a company to commercialize the Unix operating system, which at that time was only able to be used by nonprofits. So he convinced Bell Labs to give him a license for commercial, and he convinced me to help him start the company. And he found this other professor he knew, Jim Simons, to fund it. And so that's when I started to commercialize it. We created Interactive Systems Corporation. We ended up selling it to Kodak later on for quite a bit. And that sort of got me into investing.
Fast forward, 50 years.
Yeah.
Are you still highly or deeply involved in tech, or you've branched out in terms of venture capital and investments?
Deeply involved in tech, for sure. So my life is sort of split into three pieces. So a third of it is running this large venture fund, B Capital, which has about 11 billion under management and does early stage, mid stage, and late stage venture. A third of it is my family office. So I now have a large family office investment budget, and that's for my kids and grandkids mostly. And
lucky them.
Lucky them. And that invests in a lot of venture capital, but it also invests in a lot of quantitative trading, because Renaissance, that Jim and I started, was quantitative trading as well. So as far as the journey was concerned, we went from starting Interactive Systems. A few years later, Jim said, he was going to leave the university and start Renaissance. He was successfully doing some quant trading, and we could use some of the money for venture and some of the money for quant. So Renaissance from 82 to 89 was half venture, half quant. By 89, the quant was doing so well that we took the venture out, because the quant was doing 38% a year, which was amazing, and has done that. That particular fund's done that to this day, and the venture was a measly 25%.
Oh,
so,
who are you?
so we took it out, so it would be separate. And I've done pretty much venture capital ever since then, but I keep funding new people doing new quant funds, because when quant funds work well, they are a cash machine.
And what's the other third?
And the other third is philanthropy. So I'm on a number of boards where I spend time. As I mentioned, Cornell University is a big one. Cold Spring Harbor Laboratories, which is the big microbiology learning center. The New York Public Library, I'm on the board and the executive committee, particularly focused on the digital transition that's happening in libraries around the world. Chabad on Campus, where we have now, I forget the latest numbers, but we're on about 1,000 campuses. We have about 350 houses around the world, and we reach millions of students a year, and it's a wonderful operation.
Why is it so important to fund? I know why, but I want to know what you
No,
think.
no, well,
why is it so important to fund Chabad on campus, or just campus outreach in general?
Well, first of all, we've had studies done that show that students who attend a Chabad on campus service, or not even a service, but even a party, whatever, have half the intermarriage rate of students who just go to Hillel.
Wow.
And it doesn't matter whether they started out secular or reform or conservative, whatever, it's half the intermarriage rate. And I have 7 grandchildren, and I am very concerned about that. I believe that it's important for the Jewish people to Am Yisrael Chai. I mean,
100%.
we got to keep going, and anything we can do to try to minimize intermarriage is important. Man,
Do you take time to count your blessings?
all the time. I do. I absolutely do.
How do you make that time? Is there like a specific time, or are you just always thinking about it?
You know, I go to the gym almost every morning, and I sit in the sauna or the steam room, and that's when
The schwitz.
The schwitz. And that's when I think about, life, because I have no computers, no cell phones, nothing, nothing. I can't read, which I do prodigiously. I just think, and that's where I think about how fortunate.
That's rare. How many people actually take time to think?
Well, not enough.
Since October 7th, being a Jewish person in this crazy world that we live in, and particularly with what's going on now in the Middle East, has taken on new significance, maybe even a new identity. As somebody who is very involved in startups, are you involved at all with the Israeli startup scene, or it's?
Yes, absolutely. I've backed a number of companies in Israel. After this podcast, I'm going on a Zoom board with an Israeli company, but we have a number of different companies in Israel.
Do you feel a difference personally since October 7th?
October 7th was, for me, really scary. In that we didn't think it could happen again, and it happened again. Mm-hmm. So that part was very scary. It also showed, in some ways, who my friends were. We were raising money from a Muslim country sovereign wealth fund. We got through their investment committee. It said, wonderful, we want to do this. We want to give you a large amount of money, tens of millions of dollars to invest. 2 weeks later, we got a call. One of our board members has nixed this investment because we saw Howard posted a pro-Israel tweet. And I said, I don't think we need their money then, in that case.
What should we be doing to combat this brand new anti-Semitism that none of us ever thought could happen?
Well, we're doing whatever we can. Working with some of the Jewish organizations I work with. Education is number one. We built the Jewish Children's Museum in Brooklyn, and all New York City 3rd and 4th grade students are supposed to have a day there so that they learn about Judaism and that, what do Jews do, what are the holidays, all that kind of stuff, and to try to combat the anti-Semitic feelings early. But there's a very well organized, well funded through the Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran, basically, to take over social media. They've certainly had tremendous impact on campus. It's been awful. I'm at Cornell University. I'm vice chairman of the board. We just had the student assembly pass this horrific resolution, completely neglecting all the facts of the matter, which the school will turn down. I mean, the president has already said he's not going to accept it. But that it gets that far.
At Cornell, do you feel like it's an uphill battle as a member of the administration there to try to portray Israel or Jews in a good way?
I think it was an uphill battle 2 years ago. I think over the last year and so on, we've gotten over most of it, but we still have these pockets, the SJP pockets, and SJP, which was again funded. We've traced the money. I have some friends who have been doing that, tracing the money, filing lawsuits to get it frozen. But the money came from Iran to Hezbollah to Hamas to the fact that on October 8th there were tents all the same color and the same size on all the campuses in the U.S. was not an accident.
What makes you most proud to be a Jew?
Well, you look at the contributions that Jews have made to the world, largely because of the education focus and the questioning focus of Judaism. I mean, when I learned Talmud, you're always questioning, right? And that's how you make scientific progress, is you're always questioning. I'm proud of that tradition. I want to keep that tradition going. And part of that tradition, that is part of the Jewish tradition.
What brings you the most happiness? Which of your 3 pockets of investments?
Well, it's changed as I get older, but I still get the most happiness out of helping to create companies and that impact the world. When I was at Cornell, we wrote some compilers for a new language, and one day we looked around and we said, gee, there's 1 million people now using this around the country, because a lot of other universities picked it up. Said, so I've had an impact on 1 million people, right? When we created Uber at First Round, wow, I don't know how many, that's probably had an impact on 1 billion.
I didn't know about that part. That's
On
fascinating.
1
You were
billion
part of the
people. Yeah,
creation.
so Uber started in our office in San Francisco.
Wow.
And
Thank you.
well, I mean, but the point is, it's impacted billions of people.
Sure.
And so it's that impact on the world, I think, that gives me happiness. And I do get a lot of that from the ventures I help create and the entrepreneurs that I help to fund. Now, I get tremendous happiness out of the philanthropy. I mean, seeing 3,000 kids go to Pagisha for
sure.
that's very, very.
Were you
rewarding.
there in the streets and everything?
I wasn't this time, but yes, I have been. But it's great fun to watch them.
I have 2 final questions for you. Did you also foresee in the 1970s the detriments of social media, internet, the depression, or the lack of authenticity that maybe some of that is creating, or that wasn't part of your vision?
That was certainly not part of our vision. When the internet was created, we all knew each other. So even some basic plumbing of the internet, the domain name services called DNS, we didn't put any security around it. And when the internet sort of opened up to non-academic world, all of a sudden bad actors started showing up. And we had never thought about bad actors. I mean, we kind of knew
You always
everybody.
focus on the positive.
We were focused on the positive, but we also knew that if somebody did something wrong, the whole community would come down on them, right? But with the internet, there was so much anonymity that we couldn't do that, and we did not foresee that properly. And similarly, it's certainly true with social media and what it's done to the young people. Now, again, as an optimist, I think the really younger folks are now take a more jaundiced view of what they see on the internet.
We hope.
We hope. Well, no, but I mean, there's some studies that they do, but not enough yet, and that's why they fall prey to the horrible propaganda, anti-Semitic propaganda that's spread there. But we can spread our own positive propaganda there too, and we're starting to do that.
Finally, you have a microphone in front of you, and let's say you could broadcast to a large community around the world of young professionals, college students between the ages of 18 and early 30s. What message would you like to share with them based on your life experience personally, professionally, Judaically? Go ahead.
Well, I would say, the world is changing for the better. Learn AI and use it everywhere, because it is very crucial to what you're going to be doing in the future, and become a part of it. Don't try to fight it. Become a user. One of the things I have learned is with technology, it's always changing, and it's too easy to fall behind the curve. You've just got to keep at it and say, okay, what's next? What's next? And learn something new every day. And that's what I try to do. That's what people who study Talmud do. You learn something, you reread the same page, but you find something new in it every day.
I want to thank you for teaching me many new things today. It's been a real pleasure chatting with you. Wish you lots of success in your 3 pockets. And I hope that our paths continue to cross in a positive way.
I hope so too, and I want to thank you for this opportunity, and I hope the people who listen to this, whether they're Jewish or not, get some value out of it.
Thank you for listening to Jewish Grit, an Olami Mentorship podcast. At Olami Mentorship, we believe that everyone needs a mentor. What better way is there to tap into your personal and professional potential than with a Jewish mentor at your side? Learn more at olami.org/mentorship. Don't forget to keep listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.